move to our next submission in person from Abi Burden and Rhylee, who I'll invite you both to come up to the table and join us today.
That actually was us.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Thank you both for joining us. Who is who?
I'm Rhylee.
I'm Abi.
Abi and Rhylee. I thank you both for joining us. Now, Abi, you've given us a written submission that we've read, so you can take that as having been read. Thank you for providing that. If you want to, I guess, take us through the submission, the key points you'd like us to understand about it, and then perhaps leave some time for questions as you've seen before. But otherwise, you've got 10 minutes. Both of you have 10 minutes with us this morning, so we'll leave the time in your hands.
Thank you.
We've got it prepared.
Yeah, we've got a little
Absolutely.
speech for you.
You can go for it.
Good morning. We are students studying at Paraparaumu College. We were inspired to talk to you today about the Spill Amendment after being given a social studies assessment centred around rights and responsibilities. In researching the Spill Amendment and its points and struggles, we realised that we have quite passionate opinions and therefore responsibility. Responsibility to share our thoughts, especially when our words and actions could have a positive impact on others. And what setting has a greater responsibility to honour our rights than our government? The intricate relationship between a crime and its victim is very difficult to safeguard in writing and legislation. Our point today is that despite these challenges, you as the Justice Committee have the responsibility to still protect the rights of these people. In our written submission, Rhylee and I talked about how important this bill is for victims in Aotearoa. Our comprehension of the physical, mental and emotional pain which victims of crime are put through centred our message. We personally stand by all comments and encouragement made. Even afterwards, we still continue to research the bill and its potential issues. As we've been given this opportunity to speak, we would like to highlight the statement we made in our written submission about the difference between giving responsibility to individuals working in the Department of Corrections and ensuring they carry out this new responsibility with conviction and in the manner directed by the Bill Amendment and Justice Committee.
Upon further research of the perspectives on this bill, we have come to understand that many have concerns about the logistics of the bill and how they may impact its effectiveness. We agree with many of these concerns. We also understand that the bill benefits from being in an early stage where it can be refined to carry out the services it intends to perform as seamlessly as possible without legal and logistical conflict. However, ultimately we have faith in the true intention of this bill amendment. We believe it is worth working to resolve any issues and improve the bill in order to grant the full protections to those impacted. To gain some other opinions, we spoke with the counsellors and facilitators at Kapiti Living Without Violence, a local organisation working to prevent and protect victims of domestic violence. They agreed almost unanimously that this bill was an excellent and necessary step in victim protection. They said they have worked with victims who have protection orders, who have received unwanted calls from the respondent of the protection order while they are in prison, and have had to contact corrections to ensure this does not happen. This highlights the need for the bill amendment and shows encouragement from those with a strong connection. However, they also shared some concerns about the efficacy of the bill, noting there is sometimes a lack of communication between the Family Court or Ministry of Justice in general and corrections. This may mean that corrections is not always aware that a client is also the respondent of a protection order. This is a problem that should be addressed not just for the purpose of this bill. However, we are hopeful that this amendment to the Corrections Act will lead to a greater communication between these agencies, which may in turn lead to safer outcomes for victims of violent offences and family violence.
In simple words, our advice and submission to the Justice Committee on behalf of the youth in this country is that this bill amendment still matters, and we think it could do even more than it was initially intended to. This bill amendment has exposed a part of our justice system where the victims of crime are left behind, where we fall short of protecting those to whom we have a responsibility, because their rights are a responsibility, and we must start by doing this small thing to protect them.
Thank you.
All good. Thank you both. That was an excellent presentation, and I think you should consider running workshops for submitters on how to provide a written submission and then talk to the key points in an oral submission. I thought it was excellent. Well done. Members, any questions for Abi and Rhylee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your submission. I was just wondering, as a part of your studies, did you explore any other areas that we should probably have a look at in terms of protecting victims in Aotearoa? And are there any other kind of key areas that you might like to see us explore?
Yeah, we really focused on this area. We tried to pick something small that we could really have an impact on. Definitely, there are holes but I wouldn't know the specifics, and I'd definitely look into it.
And with like the communication between these two, like the Ministry of Justice, you were saying,
Yeah.
and corrections.
That was something that was brought up a lot by, so we talked to people at local organisations, Women's Refuge, and places like that, and that was kind of something they all brought up. Just in like their work, it was something they found difficult. So
That's really helpful. Thank you.
If I may, I'm Rima, and I'm fortunate enough that the bill's in my name. And thank you for coming out here. Thank you for the research that you've put into it, and thank you for realising it's an area of concern, and the passion that you've researched this subject matter with. I would like to comment on maybe a couple of things. I really appreciate how you suggested that one of the potential issues is that given responsibility as opposed to acting on that responsibility. So the way I feel is that by specifying this in the act, making, doing a zoom into this, adding it in and zooming into this, it will mean that we're sending the message that this needs to be acted upon. This type of protection needs to be afforded. So thank you. I'd also like to thank you for mentioning Kapiti living without violence and the examples that you learned from the people that help out there with respect to victims that have been contacted unwantingly. I appreciate the concern about the lack of communication between the family court and corrections, and indeed other main government bodies as well. That's something that has come about clearly when discussing this bill, and I'm so impressed that you two have picked it up. My hope for us in New Zealand is going forward, we'll work on this now, but a big dream would be that we could put these implementations in place, these systems that are not going to be cheap, but are obviously necessary, so that communication can happen much more quicker. And I really appreciate as well what one of you just said. Your research has exposed a part of our justice system where victims have been left behind. That's really profound. So thank you very much. So appreciative of you two, and keep it up.
thank you.
Thank you. You guys, I had a question about so the process of you finding this bill and it being a part of your course or studies at school, how did that come about? Because it's for us, for me especially, you're the first secondary students I think we've had present before us, aside from the Ram Raids bill, I think. And we've had a limited number of submissions on this. So for you to pick this up and be something that's passionate about and you've found it somehow, can you explain to us how you went through that process so we can encourage more students your age to get involved?
Yeah, so this is an assessment that we're doing actually, and part of that is a social action. And so we've got people in our class organising protests and fundraisers, and we knew that we wanted to engage with government. We went on a trip to Parliament, and this was something that they really encouraged, and I really took that to heart. And so when we're looking to do that, submissions are, I think, a really great way. It's a really great way to be able to talk to all of you. And we knew that this was an area that we felt passionate about. And so when we were looking for bills to submit on, this was one that came up quite quickly.
It was closing in like a couple of days. And we went, no, we really, really like this one. And so we wrote that really, really quickly.
That's very good.
I think that's a key point. You get something in, and then when you get to the select committee stage, you can expand and you can
Yeah.
fill
So
out
when
some of
we
the points.
submitted that, it was quite brief, but we spent a couple of weeks working on the points we really wanted to elaborate on.
Talking to people who knew a bit more than us.
Great, thank you. And just one final one, in terms of how you found the process of making a submission, coming to Parliament, engaging with the Clerks team. Did you find that went well? Is there any suggestions for improvements for us? I'm just looking for ways that we can continue to encourage young people like yourselves. And
I thought it was really well. The way it's set up when you're putting your written submission is really easy. It's really explained. We had a lot of support from teachers and also from people in the and people in the education department when we went into Parliament. So you guys are doing great.
Yeah, you do actually encourage it quite a lot. And every time I talk to someone about it, they went, "This is great. You guys are going to have such a good time." And so I think there is already quite
such a great
good energy around
experience.
it already.
Oh, that's really great.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
The aim to
feedback
please.
for the class. And I'm sure it's
Group through.
getting very close to lunchtime, so there must be a lunchtime shout on for, what was your name? Sorry, Mrs. There'll be a lunchtime shout from your teachers there as well. But I appreciate your time here this morning. Thank you for your submission and thanks for being with us.
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, final submission of this